Hey, yo, welcome to the Uncle Show, and let's just cut to the chase. Today we have some more metal Cardbots with Blue Cop W and Blalayan. Blalayan. I've never heard it pronounced out loud. And I'm gonna be speeding through this because for the first time ever for metal Cardbots, we have a combiner with Grand Blue Leon. Which, if you really sit down and think about it, it's kind of crazy they're only doing one now. Because even more than transforming robots, there are so many combining robots out there. Just while I was out in China, aside from metal Carbots and Transformers, I saw Hello Carbot, Tobots, Mini Force, Gloria Lines, Celestial Warriors, and God knows how many other crazy combiners. And yet it took a while for metal Cardbots to get the classic Transformers style combiner where it was two full robots with alt mode. They did have ones where it was more akin to vehicles serving up as a power up with Blue Cop Trinity, which was pretty cool, but not quite a combiner in the classic sense, more so like a Power Master or Brave. Apparently they wanted to save it for when they were truly ready, which honestly makes sense. First season, they were bulky, blocky boys, and the second wave is when metal Carbots really started to shine. And I was already excited for this guy before I got him, and after I got him, he has exceeded all of my expectations. He better, given how much I paid for him. More on that later. Now, we've already talked about Blue Cop, or at least his S version, but as for Blaleon, I know even less. I've only seen one episode of the show. Give me a break. I just want to combine these wonderful, wonderful robots. But before we get to today's subject, I just want to tell you that this video is sponsored by JP Fans. Yes, the people at JP Fans have kindly reached out for a collaboration and promotion, and it couldn't be more perfect. Have you ever tried to shop online for something that's only available in Japan, only to find out that your options are some goblin overcharging it on an auction site, or it's only available overseas with absurd shipping costs? JP Fans is an online proxy shipping service that not only charges a smaller service fee per order compared to other proxy services, but it also has a much nicer user interface than a lot of other sites, plenty of alternate language options, worldwide shipping, 60 days of item storage before shipping, and additional Mercari discount coupons up to 50% off. This is especially great for me because I particularly love the Bandai SMP model kits, but those haven't had a proper US release and as a result get massively upcharged. So a service like this is a great way for me to pick up other model kits, Blu-rays, makeup, clothing, 1970s jazz CDs, and more. And by clicking the affiliate link in the description or the pinned comment, you'll get 8 coupons worth up to $86 if you register an account. And you clicking that link also helps my channel out financially so I can keep making videos. There's something for everyone on JP Fans, so register today. Thank you so much. If you get subscribed and get notified, you'll not only see new reviews, but you can also tune into live streams where I film footage for future videos. Any super chats will also be featured in the video as well. Also, if you like the video, please give a like and comment. Your engagement helps support this channel. Now, back to the video. We'll start these off in vehicle mode, first with Blue Cop, since we've already looked at him. The car mode is quite similar to the previous car, kind of like a space Lamborghini, but now he's a lot more angular and angry. There's also a lot more gold trims compared to before. Not complaining, it looks quite nice. He also now unfortunately has these exposed connection tabs, but I guess they gotta go somewhere. The back are a little more obviously robot feet than before, but still folded in and styled in a way they still at least resemble a car spoiler. I've seen worse on this show. Also, the siren has been changed into a pair of angry eyebrows. I think at this point we dropped all pretense of looking like semi-realistic vehicles like some of the other transforming toy lines and gone full-blown sci-fi. Or, well, I guess as realistic as you could start with given the big cartoon eyes. Also, there's this annoying paint scuff because the paint chips a lot more easily. Rather annoying, especially because this guy's combination is pretty involved as we'll see later. But just before, it's a pretty solid car mode. But nothing really wow-worthy, but at least it rolls really well. Blalayan, on the other hand, whoa! I know it's a bit unfair because it's a big fire truck versus a small sports car, but it's a really nice big fire truck. Funny how Transformers Cybertron is always used for comparison with metal Cardbots because this does remind me of Optimus Prime in that show. Just a big thundering machine. Also, it's weird to say, but this is my favorite of the Carbot faces so far. Something about the more lion-like eyes with the square head. He looks like he just charged through anywhere without a care in the world. Only downside to this are that the doors are covered by these bits at the side, which look rather odd, and after you raise up the ladder, you get a look inside and it's a little more obviously robot. Still works overall, but I'd figure I'd mention it. Also, they tell you to put the chest plate and hat for the final combined form in the back here, but putting this chromed out shield scraping against the insides of this guy sounds like a terrible idea. So screw it, parts forming. At least it rolls pretty well. Now then, Shall we move on to the robot modes? On Blue Cop. Okay, so for the transformation, we're going to, and then we're gonna take the head up, and you can already see the combiner head, which from what I've heard, the Chinese versions have different paint. I don't know if the paint is necessarily better or worse, but still something I should comment on. Okay, we tilt the arms up. Yeah, it's slightly more complex than the Blue Cop figure I looked at before. And we just take this out. We take that down and we bring that around. So we can bring the knee pads back up. We can start rotating these around. And then, yeah. And then we can bring these down. Disconnect that. Bring down the skirt. Hide his combiner head away, because that doesn't come into play until much later. Go. And there we go. I know for a fact we gotta take this bit off, and I think you get this by yeah, just kind of maneuvering it. Just be a little bit careful. Put you here. Disconnect you, because these how did it go? How did it go? Yeah, so these, the arms are inside, and you just kind of have to rotate that, and then that's fist the first. Okay, rotate that around. Good, good. This whole thing, this is how did it go? I'm trying to remember how this whole assembly. Oh, yep, just like that. Oh, that wasn't healthy. No, sir, that wasn't healthy. Okay, and then we just rotate these bits in. And we'll put those aside again for now. It's kind of funny, this has two sets of feet. Okay, disconnect that. And then we just, I think you just click that out. Yeah, you rotate out the legs. And then you get the head out somehow. Well, I think I managed to. Ah, here we go, I think. Rotate these out, bring them down, and then there should be, and then I think it's just like that, actually. Okay, so again, parts forming, but if you got to do parts forming, make it interesting, because this at least is kind of fun. Oh, almost forgot. You gotta rotate the knees upward a bit more. Or almost forgot about that. Like, very interesting, very, very crazy design. Okay, and then we just stick that in. Clickety clack. And there we go.
Transformations for the robots was great stuff. Blue Cop was a lot more of the same as the last one we looked at, just a little more complex because there are a lot of combiner bits they have to account for now. Blah Lion, by comparison, is pretty simple, and there's a lot of rearranging parts on the figure itself, like for the arms and the skirt, which some people are going to complain about, but I really don't mind. I mean, they're just two steps, and at least they go on the robot itself and aren't just pushed to the side. Starting us off with Blue Cop, we've done this song and dance before, but it must be said, I think this is the best looking base Blue Cop figure. For one, he's a good inch taller than the previous version with a lot of added details that make him pop out way more. From the new chroming done on the figure, which just looks so nice, the flipping of the car fronts resulting in a much nicer front feel, proportions are a little lankier while still maintaining a strong silhouette, it all looks rather nice. I especially love the skirt patterns being done to resemble police sirens. That's such a nice little touch. Only bummer is he doesn't have the guns that double as car exhaust like the previous figures. Kind of a downgrade, but I guess with these guns in his arms, why would he need them? Plus, these guns serve as a great warm-up to his final form. So, let's get the accessories for this guy. Let's get the metal card, which... this is probably like one of the most ridiculously oversized metal cards around. So, take that off, and you got so much with this one this time around. So, you get a really nice chest piece that I can't remember for the life of me how to put on. Oh, I'm an idiot. So, actually, what you're supposed to do is get it on here, onto this piece, and these become little shoulder guns for him that you just kind of tab in like that. Rent paid, said Shuffy. Thank you. I will remember that so that we can so that you can feature your super chat, because remember guys, all super chats are featured in the video. It goes on like this. You just kind of click it in, and there you go. Big redonkulous hand. So you got a claw grip, you got a ball jointed thumb, and of course you got this opening mouth with a big gun. Hell yeah, what a cool bit of accessory. Definitely a much chunkier and substantial set of accessories than the previous Blue Cup, especially given what this arm is used for later. Makes sense as well, given this guy's slightly more expensive than the previous Blue Cup, but more on that later. How does he move? So, ball jointed head, and it's a really nice head, lots of maneuverability. Then shoulders, you saw before, they're kind of adjustable, so you could get a little bit of shrug action in if you want. And of course, these shoulder blades rotate. For the sake of this test, I'm gonna keep these pretty far extended out. Arms, full rotation at the arms. And then elbows go 90. And yeah, there's still plenty of ratchet joints. And then you have rotation at you got some rotation at the forearm. Still no bicep swivel, which was something the first Blue Cop figure had, but not this one. Make it make sense. I don't get it. Now, there is a big downgrade. There is no waist swivel whatsoever, which is something, Blue Cop S had. So I reckon that's for stability on the combiner though. That's what I think. But you do get a new bit of articulation, and that's kind of nuts. You get a arching back and a ab crunch, which is pretty damn impressive. And then the skirts, naturally, even though skirts kind of feel like they're on like a softer ratchet, perfect splits. That is really cool. And then there is rotation at the knee, and the knee bends back that far. Although, as always, you can rotate that for a little bit more, not a crazy amount. And then you can also rotate this around, if you so need it. No ankle pivots at all, just at all. Articulation, like the previous Blue Cop, is lacking in some critical areas, but also much improved in some areas. You can still get some decent poses in. I just wish we had some form of rotation at the elbows or even the upper arms. Still though, lots of fun to be had here. Now on to Blalayan, who looks awesome. He's kind of like a mixture of Optimus and Hot Rod. An actually good Rodimus Prime, if you will. He's very burly and tough, but also feels weirdly agile. He's got more natural muscles compared to something like the more squared out Transformers. Helping that out is a sculpted stomach and what I can only call a two-piece swimsuit. Sexy. It's also here where the red and black has white joined the fray, which gives off a very different feel compared to the last form. Also, we now have these flame decals like the best truck Transformers. But enough talk, what does he come with? Basically the same thing as Blue Cop, but it attaches differently. But now it's a lion that forms a sword. Pretty cool, and something I do appreciate is the normal hands aren't just floating in the wild to be lost. You can store them on the robot for later. Very nice not having any bits lying around.
Once again, you get a really nice ball-jointed head with a lot of range of movements. Full rotation at the arms, although, you know, just rotate these and you'll be fine. You can disconnect that in if you want a little bit of more movement. The shoulder pads rotate. So you could, in theory, get like a T-pose, but you gotta kind of maneuver things around. There is rotation at the forearm. Imagine that. You do get some arm movement, not the most amount it goes, but it does at least go 90. Wrist swivel. In fact, no, I think it, and actually a little bit more. Like you almost got sword wielding. You got a little bit of titty flex. You do actually have waist rotation. But you get, now I remember, you got to get all the skirt flaps up before you can use it. It's very peculiar, but I suppose that's for stability reasons. You can move these little flaps around. You can get a perfect spread if you want. Oh man, those ratchets. Rotation at the thigh. Double bend at the knee, kind of. Some little dirt marks. Ugh. And then there is ankle tilted. Really crazy ankle tilted. So that's nice. And toe bend too.
Pulsability is pretty solid on this guy, and a definite improvement from Blast Train, who we looked at previously. While I do still prefer Blast Train overall compared to this guy, they did take a lot of notes for Blaleon to really improve engineering and posability, which given he combines with another robot later, we really needed that. Now then, are you ready to combine? Well, I'm not. I gotta complain about something first. As of writing, Blaleon has been getting Scout to Helen back online. You can't find this guy for his retail price anywhere. Blue Cop is pretty easy to find, but Blaleon was a Christmas release and one in more limited quantities, so finding him has been a pain even in Korea. It's a shame because if it was his retail price, it would have been $120 overall, which for a combiner is a pretty great deal. But alas, we are getting scalped. Truly, this is the biggest problem in Korea right now. Let's just combine these guys. Me combining this guy got delayed enough on stream.
Oh, I'm edging. Combination sequence, let's do this. Bring out the head out of his ass, which is really funny. And then we want to turn this upward, which, yeah, looks like a little bit of an anal prolapse. Lovely. Straighten these arms out. So we're going to turn these skirts up and rotate these up. Get the head in there. Tilt that down. And then you bring this around, and already it's kind of hilarious because we got a bit of the gur walk going. Spread this out, and then you rotate this forward. Take these parts up, and then rotate the feet inward even. Bring out the doors, and then angle this up somewhat. The shield off from here. Rotate this part down and extend the guns out. You connect it into the arms, and then you just bring this whole assembly down, and there are these little tabs on the arms you got to connect into. And then even more so, there are these little arms you bring out. Okay, and that is the first part done. I already disconnected the wings just to get them out of the way. But now what we gotta do is get all caveman on the arms. Just rip them off. Rotate the arms around and bring them around like so. Make sure his arms are perfectly straight. Here's a crazy bit. Rotate his tits. We want to bring in the head. Close this up at the front here. Is that a Gerwalk? Does that count? I don't know. All right, what you want to do is go behind, bring out the feet from below, and connect the feet with the feet. He's got
feet built into his feet. And then we want to do the whole rotating the waist around. So a bit like this. Yeah, so that like the more goldeny bit is at the front now. Then what do we want? We want to extend these out. I think I've already extended them though. I already extended them, so we're good. Good. And then we bring in the wheels, put his fire extinguishers on both sides like so. So that's something I got to give massive props for this line's first combiner. I love how on the final robot, everything has a place. So there's a bit at the front. There's a bit in here where the fists go and they kind of connect. And you got to make sure like all the fists are still locked in. Actually, this one went perfect. If you want to like a diagram showing you, that's all the bits. So you really gotta just kind of get everything in and just sort of give them a nice tug a little bit. And then for these, we're gonna rotate these down, and we're also gonna rotate the guns back for now. Well, first of all, we need to get this bit on. So you just get that in like that. Next bit, we get the wings. I already have the wings ready to go because, like I said, didn't really want to store these away just because the, I don't want the chrome to get all scuffed up, and you just click it in like so. Oh. You're gonna extend them out like that, and I believe it's like this. There you go. Extend, click in, and then one last thing, we need this glorious helmet, and how we're gonna attach that is you just be at the back, you click it in, there you go. Look at that.
Wow. What a combination sequence. I actually thought this combination was going to be akin to God Bomber. You know, take one guy apart and click them all together on the other guy. But no, Blue Cop becomes the top half, and the top half of Blalion more so acts to secure it in place. Everything has a place on this combined form, and there's a lot of care to make sure everything clicks and locks together, sometimes in pretty inventive ways. And this final robot is amazing. Behold, Grand Blue Leon. I'm having him spin about here because you need to see this thing in all its glory. This is a remarkably dynamic and super colorful design with so much going on, but at the same time, it all feels like it has a purpose. The way all the colors are separated and planned, the way all the leftover car parts are spread out, everything has a place that really makes this guy look majestic. The only bit that slightly bothers me is the backpack, where the truck front is. Just because it adds a lot of bulk, but then again, it might be serving as a counterbalance given this guy is so big. This is by far the biggest metal Cardbot I have, and even outside of that particular sphere, it completely trounces a lot of my other combiners. Age of the Prime's Superion, not even close. HasLab Omega Prime with the stand, nope. MPG God Jinrai, not even. The only type of combiners I have that trounce this guy are Titan-sized combiners. Going back to God Jinrai, that's actually a very fitting comparison given that it's a similar two-man combiner with wings. And I'd hate to say it, but I think Grand Blue Lion is winning this fight. It looks less like an armor power-up and more akin to a perfectly balanced combiner. Helps that I think there's a little bit of extra influence on display here. The white body, thin waist, and the two animal hands, one with a sword and the other with a gun. Where have I seen this before? Actually, given that the show is written by Digimon alumni Ryota Yamaguchi, it makes sense he'd add a little bit of Omnimon influence here. In fact, I kind of like to look at this figure as a perfect amalgamation of a lot of the other shows he's worked on. From the design aesthetic of Omnimon, to the expressive faces of Metabots, the elegance of Escaflowne, to the breasts of Cutie Honey Flash? I don't know. It's a great design, and it's probably a good idea to take on a lot of aspects of very different sources, rather than reheat leftovers into an incestuous pile. But it's one thing to look nice. How is his articulation and stability? Well, actually, the ratchet joints, of which there is plenty, does make for a much tighter and sturdier combiner than you'd expect, especially for the size.
As for the articulation, well,
So we have a ball jointed head, and it also is capable of some tilting action. And also with the neck movement, you can actually get a lot more movement than even just up to here. And of course, you know, arm rotates, but you're kind of unfortunately limited by the wing. The blade's up a bit, and you can, with a little bit of rotation, you can't really get a T-pose in, but it can still go up pretty well. So realistically, if you wanted to get a little bit of butterfly action, you can kind of rotate your arm around, but you are limited by how much space you get. But of course, you know, you also get rotation up the upper arm. Do we have wrist rotation? No, but you got a ball jointed thumb and the fingers are articulated, and thankfully get a waist rotation. And you can and these kind of just lock it in to make sure it's all kind of connected, which I do like. I'm guessing that with like just how heavy a lot of metal Carbots are, they want to kind of make it so that they're nice and stable, which makes sense. Nice go out that far. Really nice sturdy ratchet joints, but you know, it can go back pretty far. Not quite perfectly flat, but still pretty dang far. Splits are basically perfect. Nice. God, those ratchets. Whew. There is a 90 at the knee, which is quite nice. This also moves a little bit out of the way, I guess, so you can push the knees downward a little bit more. And that seems to help a little bit with stability, but you know. There is a kind of a toe bend, not really, but there is a ratcheted ankle pivot with the loudest ratchet joints I've ever heard on a transformer or transforming kind of figure like this. Wow.
posability is really dang good on this guy. A lot more varied than you'd think, and while maybe still not the most stable combiner out there, there's still a lot you can do with this guy, and he will look damn good doing it. I think it says a lot that whenever I showed this thing off to someone, even those not into metal Carbots or even transforming robot toys, are blown away whenever they see this guy. Grand Blue Leon just does so much with only 2 robots that aren't even in the same size class. It makes me excited for the future of metal Carbots. Like, imagine if we got 3 bot combiners, or even the more traditional 5 robot combiners. What do you think those would be like?
Now wait a second. Technically, this guy can already be a 3-bot combiner. You just gotta give him Ignix.
What, you mean the bird that only turns into a sword and shield, not even its own standalone robot? For the same price you could get Taki, no thanks. It's not even a good sword and shield. Why would he even need a sword? He has one built in. So that was Grand Blue Leon, and was he worth it, even at the price I paid? Yes, absolutely yes. Even at the current price, he's still competitive with some other combiners, but still, hopefully Blah Leon gets a re-release so that we don't have to pay those scoundrelly scalpers. Or hopefully the US release gets up to him soon, or you could just make a black and gold version. Crap, I hate how good that looks. But regardless of price shenanigans, this is still a wonderful set and a true testament to the potential Metal Cardbot has, not only as a Transformer competitor, but just a damn good toy line in general. Gets me excited to see what's next in the future of Metal Cardbots. Though I can hazard some guesses. I'm going back to China in August, and I have connecting flight in Korea for a day. Tyrant Zero, you will be mine. Well, what about you? What did you think of this set? Am I overhyping it? Let me know in the comments, and please subscribe.